Jessica sat across from Howard, the soft glow of the elite restaurant casting a warm light over their intimate table. Her laughter, light and effortless, floated through the air like a well-rehearsed melody, each note perfectly timed. To any outsider, she appeared relaxed, at ease in the company of her lover. Her eyes sparkled as she leaned in, whispering a quiet joke that made Howard chuckle, his deep, rich laugh blending seamlessly with the murmur of the restaurant. But beneath the polished exterior, Jessica was anything but calm. A gnawing sense of unease twisted in her stomach, an invisible force tightening around her with every vibration of her phone. Each time it buzzed, she flinched, the briefest flicker of panic flashing in her eyes before she forced another dazzling smile. Howard, ever the charismatic and self-assured man, remained blissfully unaware, sipping his wine as if the outside world did not exist. He was the very definition of composure, a stark contrast to the turmoil raging inside Jessica. This affair had been a dangerous game from the beginning. Howard was everything her husband, Mike, was not: wild, unpredictable, thrilling. He had swept her into a whirlwind of passion, the sheer exhilaration of being with someone so different from the steady, dependable man she had married intoxicating her. Mike had been her anchor, the man she had once loved with all her heart. But somehow, against all logic, she found herself entangled with Howard, trapped in a web of desire and secrecy she couldn't bring herself to escape. She had considered ending it many times. Every rendezvous with Howard was an opportunity to say goodbye, to walk away and reclaim the life she had built with Mike. But each time, the words failed her. The allure of Howard, the danger, the rush, kept pulling her back in. Tonight, however, something felt different. The moment her phone vibrated again, Jessica glanced down, and the blood in her veins turned to ice. A new message flashed across the screen. Enjoy this evening, because it will be over soon. It was from Mike. A cold dread coiled around her chest, squeezing the air from her lungs. Her hands turned clammy, her heart pounding so loudly she was sure Howard could hear it. The message was simple, but its meaning was ominous. Asterisk, how did he know? What did he mean by over soon? Asterisk, the restaurant around her blurred, the ambient sounds dulling into an indistinct hum. Her breath hitched as she fought to maintain her composure, but the terror creeping up her spine made it impossible. Howard, finally noticing her distress, leaned closer, concern flickering in his dark eyes. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice soft, his fingers brushing against hers. His touch was meant to comfort, but it only served to remind her of the situation she had put herself in. Jessica forced a nod, her smile shaky, but inside she was unraveling, oblivious to the storm brewing within her. Howard lifted her hand and pressed a tender kiss to her knuckles before pulling her into a slow, lingering kiss. His voice became background noise. His words lost to Jessica as her mind fixated on the message. Mike knows. The affair had begun a month ago, but the suspicions had started earlier. Mike had always trusted her, never questioning her comings and goings. But one night, as she returned home from a supposed dinner with friends, something shifted. As she leaned in to kiss him goodnight, he caught a scent, an expensive men's cologne that did not belong to him. It was subtle but unmistakable, and it was enough. Mike was not a man prone to rash decisions. He was patient, observant, and calculating. He did not confront her immediately. Instead, he watched. He noticed the changes, the way she guarded her phone, the way her attention often drifted, the secretive smiles that played on her lips when she thought no one was looking. Jessica, lost in her affair, had been careless. She thought she was clever, that her secret world was well hidden. But Mike saw it all, and he was planning. Jessica's phone buzzed again, the vibration sending a fresh wave of terror through her. With trembling hands, she glanced down. "Do you really think no one will find out?" The words blurred before her eyes as panic gripped her. She clenched the device, forcing herself to remain still, but the suffocating anxiety was becoming unbearable. She couldn't leave, not in the middle of a packed restaurant where eyes would follow her every move, but the walls were closing in. As if on instinct, her gaze flicked around the room, and then she saw them. Her blood ran cold. At a nearby table, watching in silent condemnation, sat her uncle, her cousin, his wife, and her own sister. Their eyes were locked onto her, their expressions void of anger, but heavy with disappointment. They knew everything. Jessica's hands shook. The restaurant that had once felt so inviting now felt like a prison. Her family had always been conservative, unwavering in their beliefs. Betrayal was not something they would ever forgive. And now, here they were, witnesses to the destruction of her carefully maintained facade. One by one, without a word, they rose from their seats and walked out, leaving her behind in the wreckage of her own making. Jessica watched them go, frozen in place, her world crumbling. Mike, he had done this. He had orchestrated it all. A few days earlier, he had met with her relatives in secret, presenting them with evidence. Photos, messages, undeniable proof of her infidelity. At first, they had refused to believe it. But Mike had been steady, his pain hidden behind an unwavering resolve. He did not ask them to intervene. He only wanted them to see, to witness how Jessica's choices would unravel her own life. And now they had. The weight of their silent judgment crushed her. The air felt heavy, suffocating. Across the table, Howard was speaking, his voice tinged with concern, but his words barely registered. She had been caught, and there was no way out. Howard reached for her hand again, squeezing it. "Jessica, what's wrong?" "You're shaking. Whatever it is, we'll figure it out. I won't leave you. Let's go somewhere else, just you and me." She wanted to run, to escape this nightmare. But before she could respond, another phone buzzed. Howard's. He glanced down, his expression shifting in an instant. His face paled, his smile vanished, and for the first time, Jessica saw it fear. Without a word, Howard stood up, pulled out his wallet, and quickly counted the money to cover the bill. Jessica could only stare as everything came crashing down around her.